Facebook on here.
Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're going to be rolling on in and getting started here in just a couple of minutes, letting people pour on in. So hello, hope you're having fun. And I hope you're looking forward to some tea with Lee today. Amber, you are the host. Can you make me the host?
I sure can. I'm so sorry about that.
Great. So folks, we're also going to kick off some. Oh wait, you might need to be the host.
I think we do need a host to get live on Facebook over here.
All right, my apologies. It's our first time with our new co-host, Amber. Say hi, Amber.
Hi, everybody.
Those of you who've been coming to classes and practice parties regularly have probably gotten to know Amber, but those of you who haven't been to one since your last tea with Lee, this is probably your first time meeting her. So hello, everyone. So please come on in, say hello to everybody in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from if you're here in Zoom. And I will get the thumbs up when we're live on Facebook, which I imagine we are almost.
Okay. I've clicked the button.
Hello from Massachusetts. Hello from Sebastopol. Hello from Seattle, Arcata, Massachusetts again, Montana, Chicagoland. I'm going to be there next week. New Jersey, Vancouver, BC, Rochester, New York, London, Ontario. We're a very North American crowd today. Greetings from Santa Cruz. Hi, Drewer. Hi from Watsonville. Hi, Heather. Sydney, Australia, the first overseas person. And then there's one almost right after that, a second Sydney, Australia. Robin and Helen, you guys should get to know each other. Salmon Arm, BC, Canada. Huntington Beach, Hawaii. There we go, some further overseas. Wales, UK. It's starting to roll in here. Awesome. How are we doing over there on the Facebook side of things?
Just working on a little bug that doesn't want to get us on there, but
The Facebook bug.
Yeah, they love giving those to us.
Excellent. Hi, Nancy Abrams from Santa Cruz. Welcome for the first time. Sacramento, Oregon, Providence. How you doing over there, Lee?
Hey, doing good. As you can see, I'm still in the studio from this morning.
You are still in the studio.
Yep, been downtown all afternoon, and I think I'm going to drink the same tea that we were drinking this morning here. Merlin and I had a nice French press pot full of Trinity.
Very nice. That is a good way to go. I actually am drinking Trinity because, well, I'll tell you why in a minute.
Hey, the reason I drink, I never have a reason to drink Trinity. It's just because.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we're still waiting on confirmation on the Facebook Live, but in the meantime, it looks like our attendee list has filled up here in Zoom. So welcome one and all. And while we're waiting on that Facebook, I'm going to go ahead and give you some idea of what it is that's going on around here and what we're going to do. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to hang out. We're going to drink some tea. We're going to talk a little bit about all things Qi and tea. And then we're going to do some Q&A. And Lee's going to answer your questions. And if you're here in Zoom, the way to get your question answered is using the Q&A button. There's an actual Q&A button here in Zoom. So please feel free to use that and start to load up your questions there. And when the time comes, we'll start picking them out of there and answering them as best we can, as best Lee can mostly. But occasionally there's a Ben question in there too. It looks like we might not be streaming live on Facebook today. So if you were on Facebook and you found your way over here to the Zoom, congratulations, you get to participate. Our poor friends over on Facebook maybe don't. We'll find out. In the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and get rolling. And yeah, Lee, so I started drinking this black tea, and it's that season for me. So this is for those of you who don't know what this is a traditional Chinese tea brewing vessel called a gaiwan, which means cup with lid, basically. So it's a lidded cup.
That it is.
Yeah, so you pour the water in and then you use the lid of the cup to strain it. So you can pour the tea while holding it and burning your fingers, which is really fun. Everybody loves doing that. And once you go through a few steeps and stuff like that, the leaves open up and they have a lot of room to expand in there, which is really nice. And so I've been drinking this black tea that's actually made from Dragonwell. So Dragonwell is normally a green tea, normally distributed as a green tea. And this lady made this wonderful black tea from it. So I've been drinking that. But the problem is it's black tea. So I'm a little jacked up on caffeine.
Hey, should be fun.
Yes. And that's why I'm going to mellow down with some Trinity and join you on the Trinity drink.
I was wondering how this was going to wrap around back to the Trinity tea.
That's right. The grounding pu'er, the relaxing Trinity. It's a great way to follow up an excessive caffeine dose from some black tea. Look at you in your French press.
See, if you don't have a fancy Guy one, and Ben, somebody wants to know how to spell Guy one, but you can just throw a bunch of leaves, whether it's black, green, pu'er, in a French press. That's what we do here at the office. And then we do mugs of tea. And as you can see, this mug of tea has a surfer because we are in Santa Cruz. And it's easy to drink tea just about in any way, shape, or form. So this is a real simple way to do it. Little tea at the bottom, French press, and then you pour it out. And the nice thing about pu'er, as you can see, I'm just going to let this steep. It won't oversteep. Pu'er, unlike green tea or black tea, won't oversteep and get all bitter and tanniny. Is that a word, Ben? Tanniny?
Tannintastic is the real word.
Oh, okay. Got it. I like it. And so that's what I'm doing because I'm not around my normal tea wear.
Well, I think it's fine. I think it's really cute. It's kind of nice to have a little UFO bubble in your shot. And yeah, it's a great way to go. Do you ever have a coffee meet? I'm from Colombia.
That's a good idea. Well, we do like coffee too, but
Absolutely.
just not enough people that know about pu'er. So we're kind of on that kick.
And the other thing is, if we're going to sit here for 90 minutes, I'm going to drink like a liter of pu'er. If I drank like a liter of coffee, it would not be a good night.
No.
So that's me.
A different kind of QiGong practice.
Exactly. So you guys are so funny, says Cindy. Have you ever thought of doing a sitcom? What do you think, Lee?
I think it's a good idea.
What would be the theme of our sitcom?
Okay, so here's what would happen. We would it would take place in at a wellness retreat center. It'd be a sitcom, but you just get all the characters, the yogis, the meditators, the crystal readers, the herbalists, and we'll just get them all together. And then we'll have new people coming in all the time. I think it would be a fantastic sitcom.
But the new people are corporate.
Yep.
So they're like the straight man to our weirdo wellness people. This is perfect. This is great.
Like the idea?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So, all right. So everybody, we got to go. We got a sitcom to plan out. And
yeah,
it's going to be a little bit
dude,
of
the whole new way of promoting QiGong just took a real turn, didn't it?
Yeah. Heather's asking, can you tell us the rest of the grizzly bear story? I thought you did finish that story at the end of the bear session in 5 Animal Frolics, didn't you?
I did, but did I bring it up in class or something?
I think she was there during the first part, but we had the technical issues, and so it got cut off. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I might have to repeat that at some point.
You might. Cool. Well, so folks, as promised, we are. Yep, Facebook is just totally uncooperative. So we are just hanging out here in Zoom. So
okay,
we'll be able to. So if you know somebody who's over on Facebook, go ahead and let them know to come find us on Zoom, and feel free to share the link with them. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hang out. Lee, if you've got your tea poured and you're ready to roll, I got mine.
Yep.
And I'm about ready to roll too. So why don't we take a moment to get present, and you can lead us on a little bit of a journey of becoming present. That would be terrific.
Okay, let's all get here. Sometimes it is a journey to get present and to be here where you are. You know, as my friend Dan Millman often said in The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, what time is it? It's now. Where am I? I'm here. And that's always a good reminder. It's always a good reminder because your mind does not always want to be here. In fact, often it wants to be either thinking about the past or ruminating about the future. And, you know, speaking of the 5 animal frolics, the monkey is often analogous to our minds, jumping from branch to branch to branch. So let's get present. And what we can do, we can use tea as a way to get present. You could use coffee. Of course you could use coffee if that's your drink of choice, because whatever you're drinking is what's happening right here, right now. And let's infuse the moment with some gratitude. Let's infuse the moment by stitching in to this moment some intentions, some focusing in on what we're grateful for, because it's so easy for our minds to focus on what we don't like, what we didn't like, the worries, the anxieties that come up, and let's do something a little different. And what we do with the tea ritual is often, I like to just bring it by the heart center, because the heart center has power. And when we bring our tea by the heart, it's a time to drop into the heart, move out of the head, tune into what we're grateful for, and become present. And that can happen very, very quickly. So what I like to do, you're gonna make a little circle with your cup. As you're making a circle with your cup, we're gonna close the eyes, take a few slow, deep breaths, and just think about a few things in your day that you're grateful for. And it might have been this week, yesterday, a smile from one of your kids, a conversation with a good friend, a nice meal, a sunset, whatever it is that you feel grateful for, put your attention there. And let's make space and room for that kind of energy, that quality of energy to grow and flourish. Because we're all gardeners of our own life force energy. We're cultivating it. We prune away the weeds and we let the garden grow with our skill and cultivation. Take a nice deep breath. And with that in your mind, let's make a toast to keep that kind of energy flowing in our lives, and we'll support each other to do that. So here's to that, here's to gratitude, and cheers to all of you.
Cheers. Beautiful. Steaming hot cup of gratitude right here.
You know, tea always tastes better with gratitude.
I've noticed that. And I always enjoy it when you send us on a little journey of becoming present. So folks, now that we're here, and I think all of us are here, let's hang out. Let's do some Q&A. Let's talk to people. Let's see what they're asking about. I know there's been a couple of questions flowing through the chat, but if you want to ask questions, please throw them in the Q&A here in Zoom. That's where we're going to be able to go and find them, because we're doing this in webinar style instead of the meeting style we do for most classes. And that way we can find your questions in the Q&A. There you go. Let's see here. We got some questions in here. I'm going to start with one from Shari that says, Shari, that says, hi, is there a pu'er tea you recommend for kidneys? Because I found this interesting myself.
That is a good question. That is a good question. You know, pu'er tea is good for all your organs. You know, I do think pu'er is good for the kidneys because it's easy for the organ systems to assimilate the complexity of this quality of tea, because it's not just a caffeine hit. In fact, pu'er has a lot of complexity in it, and a lot of pu'ers are more relaxing than stimulating. So you get both this combination of stimulation and relaxation, which is easier for our digestive system and our organs to assimilate. So I would say it's better for kidneys and adrenal glands than just a straight cup of coffee because of that complexity. And then, you know, your digestion and everything else is supported with, you know, healthy, not only healthy drinks, but a healthy way of consuming food, drinks, life, and all of that. So, you know, with kidneys, if you're really focusing on kidneys, what you're going to want to do is do some kidney flows, kidney healing sounds, as well as taking care of your overall system of health. When we look at kidneys from a mental emotional standpoint of view, they're very sensitive to your emotions and your stress levels. So manage stress, keep stress levels low so that your adrenals don't get fatigued. And when you're doing Qigong and meditation, your system spends a lot more time in parasympathetic than sympathetic, which is easier on the whole system and especially your kidneys.
Absolutely. Follow-up question from me. If you drink like 7 liters of pu'er in a day, is that bad for your kidneys?
It depends on what model of kidneys you have. And that
Fair.
just means depends on who you are and how strong your organ systems are. So those kind of questions are true. We cannot necessarily say one answer for everybody. So some Chinese medicine doctors say don't drink too much because it taxes. So, and that depends on if you're kidney Qi deficient. If your kidney Qi is deficient, you might not want to drink 7 liters. You might want to drink 2 liters or 1 liter, you know, so it doesn't overtax the system. And that would be like a serious answer, you know, to consuming lots of tea or even lots of liquids. So it just doesn't put a lot of strain on those kidneys.
Excellent. Very good. And here's an interesting question. This is a very interesting question. Do you have any thoughts, Lee, on the upcoming Mercury in retrograde, starting in a few days and lasting a few weeks? Any special practices for when Mercury is in retrograde?
Shoot, you know, I didn't even know Mercury was in retrograde. You know, Mercury usually texts me. And, you know, I actually have just been busy and I don't spend a whole lot of time just following astrology because it's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
But no, the planets do affect us. It's energy. And we can feel we're part of this ecosystem. We're affected by planets, each other, what we eat, the environment that we're in. And so whether it's feng shui or astrology, we are influenced by external forces. Now, what we can do and where we have a lot more power is in our own energy system. So whether it's Mercury in retrograde or your in-laws are coming to visit, we want to be as strong as possible within ourselves to deal with life's demands. And I think Mercury in retrograde often throws a bit of monkey wrenches in plans. It makes things challenging. Maybe if you think you're going to go for a hike on a nice even trail, it might turn out to be a swamp. And it takes a lot more energy to get from point A to point B. So you need some energy for that. And when you have energy, it gives you more clarity. And so with those kind of astrological things happening, it's important to be present and to be flexible. So lower expectations, be in the moment, find your flow and rhythm so that you can be ready to move and change plans, be spontaneous. Because my life is like having constant Mercury in retrograde with twin 13-year-olds and an infant.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. All right, here's a little fine-tuning question from Clemencia, or hopefully I got it right. I'm curious if when there is a little bounce on the either hip or the knee when doing water waves, I do realize that the movement starts from the center, but I'm not sure if there's a slight bounce or release in water waves. Thank you in advance.
That is a good question. I'd have to let me think about that, because in water waves, there shouldn't really be much of a bounce. The bounce is unintentional if it's there. So it's almost because the momentum of the turning, when it hits the apex, your center is going to move the arm back. So water waves is an exercise. Let me do it like this. I'm in a real deep knee bend right now, guys. So you're turning like this. And the idea of water waves, like our intention setting, is to get present. So you're washing away the worries, you're clearing away the heavy thoughts, and you're using the movement of the body and the arms to bring your attention to your center. And so, I don't know, am I bouncing? It's kind of a smoother movement than a bounce. So there's not an up and down. There's a turning from your center. I want you to feel like you're turning and moving from your center. Your neck and shoulders relax. And that's the simplicity of that movement. So no bounce, move from the center, relax neck and shoulders, and then align your mind in the right place with this exercise, because it's really about getting present and stopping the repetitive thoughts of the mind as we start class, so that as we go into the deeper energetic exercises, we can align our energy and find our flow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think often, just from the outside, it appears as though there's a little bit of a slightly standing taller as you kind of get to the apex, like you were saying, and then you kind of drop back in as you're turning.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
On that turnabout, there's this sort of appearance of a bounce, but it's really just a little bit of a kind of like coming up the ramp and then back down into the
Almost
turn.
like a pendulum swing.
Yeah, or like
I think there is that, but it's not intentional. So let your center guide you. And if that happens, if you feeling a little bit of rhythm, follow it and let it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
It happens for me for sure, but it happens by itself. Absolutely. All right. Good question. Pre-diabetes. I know we've talked about this. Linda is asking what flows, etc., would help with pre-diabetes.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about pre-diabetes, we're also talking about our digestive system. So 2 things with the digestive system. One, we want to have good food. We want to eat the right things, right? So we're going to have to watch diet, make sure you're eating healthy. And then the other thing is, how's our digestive fire? And so a lot of times in Chinese medicine, we're paying just as much attention to how we eat, our emotional state while we're eating, the pace of our eating. So slowing down can be very helpful. So going slower when you eat, so that digestion starts to take place in the mouth. Then you assimilate that food easier. And so pre-diabetes, look at the earth element and the spleen, do flows that go with the earth element. Pebble in the pond is a great example. There's one called grinding tofu. That's a great exercise for your spleen Qi and your digestive energy. I would suggest we have that previous workshop. It's a 3-hour workshop on digestion. And so that would be the recommendation there. And then make sure you're exercising and eating healthy.
Yep, that's right. So Qigong for healthy digestion is in the previous workshop section of our website. I'm sure there'll be a link in the chat momentarily. And that's a great answer. So thank you very much. Here's an easy one for you. Well, I hope it's easy for you. We'll find out. When's your birthday?
Every day. Is that a trick question?
Yeah, there you go.
Every day is a new day if you're present.
We might have a home astrologer trying to figure you out.
But
Sure.
My birthday is February 3rd.
That's right. Same as my dad.
Oh, that's right. Yes. And then my twins are February 5th.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
So they were my birthday present 13 years ago.
It's an Aquarian household.
It is.
Here's a pretty simple question that I think we can answer. June is asking, what are the exact teas you're drinking and where to purchase them? Well, June, welcome to Tea with Lee. He must be new around here because Lee's favorite tea of all the pu'ers and mine, right up there on the top of my list too, is this tea called Trinity. It's a pu'er tea, which is an aged and fermented tea from China. And so this fermentation process changes the cell structures of the tea. This tea is from the year 2000, and it's been through this microbial process for all these years. It's called Trinity, and the place we purchase it is called Hidden Peak Tea House. And there will be a link in the chat at some point here. And the cool thing about these pu'er teas is you can steep them dozens of times. So I'll start a little pot in the morning and put a few grams of tea in it and drink it all day long. And it's very healthy and doesn't get you jacked up the same way the black tea does or coffee does or what have you. It's a very different form of energy delivery system. So it's why we love them so much. They're very compatible with our Qi practice. So always love answering that question. More people that know about these teas, the better. And there's so few in our culture, although a lot more than there were just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What are the best movements for back pain? This is a question from LT.
Well, back pain, there comes in different shapes and areas and locations and magnitudes. You know, a healthy spine is so important because it really makes us unique because we're not walking on all fours. Being that we're not walking off all fours puts extra pressure on our spines. So movement is key. You know, if you don't move the joints, they get stagnant. And we can see that with frozen shoulders. We can see it with hands. You put a hand in a cast for a week or two and everything heals, but now you can't move your fingers because it's been casted. Now, unfortunately, most people sit way too long. And that is why they're calling sitting the new smoking. We've got to move our bodies and we want to move our spine in all of its different directions. The spine moves in like over 100 different ways. We have flexion, extensions, rotation, we have side bending, and then you have all the different vertebra in the spine. So movement of the spine in those different directions is important. So when you're sitting, you could do some spinal cord breathing. You could do dog wagging the tail. When we're standing, we want to twist and knock on the door of life. So we have a whole sequence called the spinal enlivening sequences. And I often start a Qigong class with spinal enlivening because it's such a central pillar to our energy system, our health, brain, nervous system, body, it's all communicating through the spine. You know, in our subscription, we have a healthy spine class that's always on there. Didn't we do a healthy spine workshop? I'm trying to remember. Am I right? We did a healthy spine workshop, if I recall.
Yes. Well, no, we did a low back workshop.
Okay. Low back workshop.
More,
and we have upper back, neck, and shoulders.
and the
You
healing
know,
circle.
most people have some kind of back pain. That's why
True.
it's also good to go see professionals, you know, chiropractor, acupuncture, good massage. You know, you can get somebody to help you create that movement of energy in your body and then maintain it with your own practice. That's so important to keep your body moving and doing a variety of different movements. Now, one of the reasons I love Qigong is because it gives you such a wide variety of nutritious movements for your body and your spine. You know, it's exercise, it's stretch, it's mindfulness, and it's energy cultivation. I would say, okay, quite specifically, because I just went on a tangent. For healthy spine, do knocking on the door of life, spinal cord breathing, dog wagging the tail. Those three are excellent. Those three are really excellent. And then you can do targeted. You want to do the upper back and neck. We have some programs for upper back and neck. Or you want more lower back. We have those programs and workshops for the lower back.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. The getting the synovial spinal fluid moving, getting the blood flow in the area to all the structures and everything is just sort of the baseline. But then from there, it really does get specific. And so I found, for example, with the lower back stuff, because of the nature of my old back injury, there's certain things that I can't do, but there's other stuff in there that if I do it, I always feel great. So it's just, you know, from there, you kind of have to find your own path for a higher degree of specificity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
and healing. That's a great thing.
You all the tools. Those workshops and programs give you all the tools, and then you experiment and see which things make you feel great, which things make you feel okay, and which things. Certainly building up the core strength, the stuff we do on the floor, I think is good for everybody though.
Mm-hmm. And you're really touching on that, Ben, because what our Qigong practice does is helps you to listen to your own body. We start to be able to communicate within ourselves because we're not taught to listen. We're taught to suppress the body's signals, and you become sensitive to what your body needs. So when we do an exercise, you can really see how it feels for you. And then as Ben was saying, you know, there might be some exercises you really need to modify, or you just cut out altogether and focus in on a few. And then as your body changes, all of a sudden those exercises that didn't feel so good, they feel better. So it's a process.
Yes, indeed. You mentioned knocking on the door of life, and I know a lot of people know that movement, but here is a question from one of your students who is saying, as I've become more flexible with practicing Qigong, when doing knocking on the door of life, my backhand is reaching all the way around to my side waist. Is that a good thing, or am I missing out on hitting important points in the low back? Okay, maybe I shouldn't twist so far. This is a big question.
That is a great question. And when you do knocking on the door of life, the hand does go across to the other side, and you are knocking on very important points with the hand as well as the forearm. So the forearm and the sort of the back of the arm often will stimulate the door of life itself. But then next to the door of life, almost like a band, is other important points. So you have door of life, you have bladder 23, and then bladder 52, all in a line. And each one of those points, very good for supporting your kidneys, vitality, and overall energy. And then the front hand, interesting, is knocking across the abdomen and the ribs, this whole chi belt area. So you're really stimulating some key pressure points through the whole movement. It's not just the door of life. So you're doing it exactly right. So keep it up.
Keep it up. Very good. All right, we're going to go in a different direction now, and I'm going to ask you a couple of interesting questions, one of which follows the other. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. Victoria is asking, is Qigong rooted in religion?
Ah, okay. That is a good one. Very interesting, because Qigong is rooted in Taoism, which is said to be one of the great religions of the world. But unlike other religions, there's not really, you can be Taoist in any other religion. You know, you could be a Taoist Buddhist, you could be a Taoist Christian. Taoism is really about a principle set of movements. It's more of a spiritual philosophy than a religion. So there have not yet been any Taoist crusades, to my mind. Nobody's, making you go relax and be in the flow. So it's very much like water. You pour water into this cup, it takes the shape of this cup. So whatever your beliefs, your ideologies, your way of thinking, what you want in life, it just helps to fill your cup up more with more energy. And it helps you to see life directly. Taoism is about seeing life as clearly as you can from the moment and have a direct experience without having to go through a translator. And what I mean by that is that you don't have to ask your priest, your monk, the nuns, your shaman. You drop into yourself, and you have direct contact with the divine, with the universe, with nature, with the earth, with your own heart center. And there's a very clear methodology on how to access information for yourself. Now, the spiritual teachers, if you will be more like tour guides, saying, hey, if you walk this particular path, these are the sites that you might see. But everybody who walks a journey, even if we're all going on the same journey, will have a unique experience of that territory. Everybody will have a unique experience, even though we're doing the same Qigong movements in the same Qigong class. What is relevant for you might not be relevant for somebody else. And that's the individual uniqueness that is often revered in Taoist practice. And so Qigong being part of that, that culture that sprung forth from Taoism was a witnessing and observing nature and allowing those movements to be mirrored in and through the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Yeah, it's such an interesting group of people, right? Because it's one of the only remaining, it's one of the only world religions that exists now and is a major world religion that really still has enormous ties to its shamanic roots, which are roots about your relationship with nature. And like all of these indigenous peoples in most cultures had this sort of shamanic connection with nature based way of viewing the world and religion, you might say. But it's very distinct from all the what we call salvationist religions that have come after. The Christianity, the Judaism, the things that you mentioned, you could be and also be a Taoist. And so so it's a little bit different in that way. So yeah, it's considered one of the major world religions, and I think there are various groups, just as with any other religion, that are very fundamentalist in some weird ways. And others that are very, but the shamanic component and the medical system that grew out of their thinking and the kind of like early science, it it was all one back then. These were the people who were doing all of the figuring out, and we didn't, it's thousands of years ago, we didn't have a thing called science, and we didn't have a thing called philosophy, and we didn't have a thing called religion. Now we have all these separations, but these principles have sort of endured in this basically the only one that managed to hold on as a major world religion. And I think it's a testament to how effective these people's understanding and apprehension really was. How health, how effective these things are for health is another aspect of that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. And Taoism really helped us to feel our sense of wholeness. Wholeness and holy kind of come from that same root, being able to feel that sense of unification and wholeness. And that applied to our bodies, that applied to the way they thought about medicine, the way they thought about spirituality, the way they thought about community. And what tied everything all together in that wholeness to make it cohesive was the concept of Qi, life force energy. Now they say, if you start to deify something, then people start to argue, my deity is better than your deity, my God, my way. And that's why they call Taoism just the way, so that because it is our individual way and how we experience life uniquely to us, that allows us to grow and evolve within ourselves. And, what it was called as a cultivation of our own Shen or spiritual practice. And as you were saying, Ben, it was a shamanistic tradition that then became well-trodden, meaning these paths became well-trodden over thousands of years. Practitioners developed this science to it. It was both an art and a science that if we meditate a particular way, if we moved our bodies, if we breathe a particular way, we often will get these kinds of results. Yeah. And those results led to happy, healthy, vibrant, and fulfilled people. And so they said, let's keep repeating them. It became a science in and of itself. It became the earliest and some of the first energetic sciences that crossed medicine, communities, mental, emotional health, and spirituality.
Excellent. And to follow up on that, I told you there were
yes.
YQXPLTD is saying, Lee, I've come across Qigong being described as a mind-body-spirit practice. I understand the meditation, breathing, and movement connections with the mind and body, but where does the spirit practice part come in? And what is your take on spirit?
Right. And this is good because when we look at energy, we can start to really see it as it takes shape and form in these concepts that we've created, right? Because we say mind, we say body, we say spirit, thinking that they're separate. Much like a map, just because we separate the states, when you go driving across from California to Nevada or from Mexico to California, there's no, the land and the earth is whole. Your mind likes to delineate and create these separations when there are, in reality, there aren't any. You are not mind and body, you're mind body. You're not mind and body and spirit. It's all one cohesive whole. And if we can start to get our thinking and our consciousness around that, it really helps us in our own view of ourselves. We're like our cells in our body. There's 50 trillion or so cells in your body that are organized by a cohesive intelligence. And it is so much beyond our self-consciousness, our rational intelligence, that we have to let go and trust in the self-organizing power that is innate within us. This is what they call Qi. If I simplify it, let's say your body is like ice, your mind and emotions like water, and your spirit like vapor, right? Mm-hmm. Ice and vapor really seem different. Sit on an ice block and sit in a jacuzzi, it seems like two different substances, but both are H2O.
Yeah.
Right. And so your mind and your body and your spirit, they transform into one another as ceaselessly and as effortlessly as the snow melting from the mountains, becoming the lakes, evaporating into the clouds, snowing back down. It's the cycle of energy. And this practice really helps us to really bridge and create a conscious connection to all of those processes. So spirit in Chinese medicine was called Shen, and it's part of the three treasures. We have Jing, Qi, and Shen. Shen is spirit, consciousness, and maybe what we think of as mind. And it is a kind of Qi. It is a kind of energy. Now, when we have high spirits, our bodies are healthier. And when our minds are clearer, our bodies are healthier. When your body's healthier, we think clearer. So we can't separate these energies. Think about when you're really emotionally stressed. What is the state of your mind? Your mind often is turbulent. And so one energy leads into another energy, leads into another energy, like that cycle of water.
Absolutely. That's a terrific answer. And yeah, it's so hard not to think of all this stuff as distinct. And that's because we have words for them. And every time we create a word, we create a separation between the thing that we gave that name to and everything else in the universe. And so, but the separation's kind of arbitrary in a lot of cases. But it starts to create those patterns in our brain of thinking of all these things as separate, but they're really inseparable, incontrovertible parts of a single whole. And we all are, really. So.
It's like the story, I forget who it was that was saying, it would say, hey, we're in Kansas now. And the other guy said, no, we're not. I've seen Kansas on a map. It's pink. Good example of the mind, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. What workshop did Lee mention in class today? Ken is asking, I think asking about the forthcoming workshop, which is actually, Ken, I'll clarify that. It's actually a course on breath work that will be starting in October. We haven't put out the materials yet. We haven't announced it, but be ready for that to happen. And it'll be not just a workshop, but actually a pretty healthy course, moving into some pretty advanced breath work by the time it's over.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything else you want to say about that?
It's going to be the end of October. We're going to start that, and it's going to be one weekend day per month. And we're going to do 4 sessions. And like you were saying, we're going to dive into the concepts and the practices of breath work, and we'll relate it to Qigong, postures, meditation, health and vitality, all the different components of breath work. And we'll just take a nice deep dive into that practice, and it's going to be really exhilarating.
Yes, it is. That kind of work is very powerful. There was a question, here it comes. I'm trying to find it. It's so hard to find these, but there was a question following up on the breath. Marianne is asking, she's really enjoying the breath work stuff that you and David do in Superhuman Experience. Should she modify the breathing techniques because she has a slightly enlarged aorta?
I might have just answered her question in our customer service. I do remember her asking that question. And it's good because when you have an enlarged aorta, you have to be a little more careful. And some breath work practices, you do some breath holding, and that could put some pressure on the aorta. So don't hold the breath to the point where you're really straining. Just go into a nice light breath hold. If the instructor is saying, hold the breath, make it more comfortable. Don't push into it, and don't bear down on the diaphragm as strongly. So just going to make it safe. You're going to make it not push it as hard just because of that condition. So easy. And then really spend more time on the slow, relaxing breathing through the nose at the end of all those practices.
Very good. Excellent. I have another interesting question on the sort of broader topic. And the question is, what is your take on distance healing?
That's always a very interesting topic because, I have had, many clinics and health practices, and I didn't really ever go into distance healing unless somebody asked me. So when somebody had asked me to do some distance healing, I would, and I was surprised, always surprised by the results. Now, we were talking about Shen, our minds and our spirits. And now, you know, when we go into this quantum world of energy and consciousness and mind, and it's very fascinating because our intention has impact. And so when you place attention with focused attention into a receptive person, it has impact. And I don't know why people don't understand this more, because we have these crazy things right here, cell phones, right? There's no wires attached to anything. And we just dial a few numbers and you get the right person. And distance healing can work in a similar way. We put our consciousness on the right person. We send heartfelt intentions with loving kindness, and it has impact. And I've seen it over and over and over again. And it's always surprising. And I always think it's miraculous and wonderful to do those kinds of practices. So yes, I would say there's some interesting studies on people that use prayer, groups of meditators, when they focus on peace in a particular place in the world, crime rate goes down. So it does have impact on the physical world.
Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating stuff once you start to see how impactful it really is. So there are a few questions about healing sounds, and I always like those. And here's one that Robert is asking. And he's asking if whistling has a place as a healing or other sound.
Hey, if it makes you feel good, it's healing. You know, and, you know, being that it's lyrical, it makes our hearts open. So I would say, you know, I've never been asked that question, but just off the top of my head, the whistling would be a nice way to open your heart, especially if you're whistling kind of, you know, in harmony with a song that you like. But healing sounds have a particular vibration. So when we zzz, we're not doing it as an outward sound, we're doing it as an inward vibration. And that's the difference between making something musical for somebody else for it to sound good in our ears, which is also healing. These sounds are targeted to areas of the body to vibrate them, not to sound good, but to vibrate them so that it moves the Qi at that particular area.
Yes, indeed. Shari is asking, she was reviewing the Healing Sounds workshop, and at one point you had us plug our ears with our thumbs and bring our hands to our head. Is this an actual movement to practice, or was it just so you could experience the internal sound of humming?
You're gonna have to ask me that again, Ben. I had my thumbs in my ears.
Oh, yes, you did.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I got it. It is that particular workshop. We did sound healing. We did the healing sounds, but we also did an extended practice on humming and different sounds like M and N. So when we, if you put the thumbs in the ears and hold some points, there's some pressure points here, like the gallbladder meridian, and you plug the ears while you do the sound, you get a different experience. You know, following up on the last question, whistling, when you hum a song, the vibration of the hum opens through the sinus passages. And what they're noticing when experimenters look at the sinus passages, a lot more nitric oxide is released. Nitric oxide is often referred to as the miracle molecule. We want more nitric oxide in our system. And your body makes it naturally when you hum. But the hand position here is just another variation of it. And it gives you more of an internal sense of vibration and energy.
Excellent. And there was another question about, you mentioned the whale form of Qi Gong.
I did. People are paying attention today, huh?
Today, yeah. So maybe you can give us a brief synopsis of that and then answer Linda's question, which is what healing sound would be best to use to heal the cancer of the blood, marrow, and bones?
Okay.
The wife and she also do humming along with healing sounds. Would humming also be good in the whale form?
It is, yeah. Now, interesting when you observe whales, and I'm not sure if dolphins do this too, but a sick whale will kind of float to the surface, and the other 4 or 5 whales put their noses on, and they make the whale sounds. And that's one way they create that vibration, and it helps speed up the recovery of the injured or sick whale, which I thought was very fascinating. So the Qigong teacher that I learned this from, what we would do, and this was really fun and very strange, but you lie down and you have 5 people put their head, the top of their heads on your body somewhere, on your legs, on your shoulders, head to head with somebody. So you have 5 people, you lie there and breathe quietly and slowly, and they hum. It's pretty much like an ohm. And you feel the vibration from their top of their heads into your body. And so I've done that, at a variety of times in live events and workshops, and people have a great time with it. So try it with your family if you want. Heads on some part. It's best like on a bony area, like the shoulder, or a bigger area like the thigh, or somebody lying, if you're lying on your back, somebody else lying on their back with their crown of their head on your head. And then they hum. Basically, that's it. That's the whale exercise. Now for the blood, cancel the blood. So you're going to want to look at the heart. The heart is the ruler of blood. Heart and spleen. So make additional heart and spleen sounds and vocalize them. That being said, you're going to also want to do all of the healing sounds, because, when we have one part of our body that's injured or has an illness, we want the rest of the body to come in and support it.
Yep, that makes sense. Very good. And that is all the healing sounds questions for the moment. And in the absence of a bunch of Facebook questions, we're just going to keep cranking, and we're going to start to get into various issues, health issues that folks are writing in about. And Daryl's asking about liver detox, points to work on, not really herbs, but points to work on, and possibly exercises for liver detox.
Great. So liver healing sound would be great. The liver sound being sh or shoo, shoo. And when you do the sound, if you lean a little bit so that the right side of your body is stretched, there's the livers on the right side, shoo, and you vibrate it, it really helps with the detoxification of the liver. I would also suggest liver 3. Liver 3 is on the top of your foot, between the big toe and the second toe. Great point for the liver. Liver 14 in the rib cage here, you could just tap on it. In fact, just tapping on the ribs by the liver would be good on the right side, but the liver meridian is bilateral, so you could do it on both sides.
Excellent. How about any thoughts on how to get rid of a very stubborn stye on the eye?
Stye in the eye.
Stye in the eye.
Yes. Let's see. Again, the eye area related to the liver. And so liver 3 and liver 2, those are going to be points on the foot. I would massage those. And then if you're doing like, hot compress, those kind of things can be helpful for a stye. If you've tried all those things, the normal things, you might also look at the mental emotional components. Like, around the eyes, we can say often sometimes our spirit is calling us. What am I not seeing? What inner vision do I need to start to implement? How's my creativity? Do I feel stuck? Do I feel like I'm narrow in my focus of my future? How do I expand my horizons? I would say these kinds of things might be some good fodder for you to journal about, meditate on, and then otherwise we can do, liver work, liver 3, liver healing sounds plus liver flows like tree sways in the wind. And for eyes, when we do this, we bring the energy up, and then instead of taking the hands all the way to the top of the head, we take them right to the eyes. If you do Qigong, get a lot of energy in your hand, just hold it, cup it over the eye.
Very good. There are about 3 or 4 folks asking what you suggest for high blood pressure, aside from don't get it. in the first place. That's
Right.
except
You
for
know,
insulin.
it's interesting because let's look at energy. And I love our practice because we can always say, what's the energy doing when we have a diagnosis like this? A diagnosis is often a symptom. The root is often something that your energy system is doing. So with high blood pressure, what's energy doing? It's rising. That would be rising energy has heat to it. Heat rises. So we have too much heat rising. What is that caused by? Agitation and stress, maybe too much thinking. And so quite simply, how do we lower blood pressure? We're going to calm our nervous system. And we might do something on the bottoms of the feet. Those liver points that I just talked about are also good for high blood pressure. Massaging the bottoms of the feet, good for high blood pressure. So, because we want to bring energy down, put more energy on the bottoms of the feet. Walking barefoot on the earth, like a beach or even sand or the grass, get your bare feet on the earth can be very helpful. And then do our high blood pressure Qigong set. We have a program, Qigong for high blood pressure, and we've gotten a lot of comments on how well that program works.
Yeah. A number of people have had the opposite problem because they were on statins and then they ended up with low blood pressure because they were doing both.
Mhm.
And then their doctor is like, yeah, you should keep taking the statins. You're like, I think I'm going to stop the medication. We're not suggesting you do that at all, but we've had some stories come back in that vein, and it's been kind of interesting. So
It works really well. That whole program in practice works really, really, really well.
it really does. And actually, I mean, there's science out there proving that or showing that it works as well as the drugs that they put you on for high blood pressure.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of awesome.
And the side effects are positive rather than negative.
Exactly. Okay, we got a good one here. We got a 2-pack.
Okay.
2-pack, and I'm gonna read them both, and then you're gonna answer them both.
Okay.
Both Denise and Kristen are teachers. Denise is saying, I have a new job working with first graders, and it's a jungle out there, especially during a pandemic. The kids love tree pose and picking cherries as a break from studies. Are there other Qigong moves to help with anxiety and in a limited space? And then also, Kristen is saying several students coming in with extensive trauma. What short activities can help open energy channels in order to help them get rid of the difficulties of the last year? I think it's going to be a very similar answer.
Two kid stories, two kid questions, right? They're both for the traumas about the kids, right?
My impression. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, obviously, our kids are sensitive. Pandemic, there's a lot of changes that have happened with the kids. Being stuck on devices can be really hard for children and all of us. So, getting them in their bodies is fantastic. So even just doing some Qigong, if they're having fun and getting goofy, I love first graders because they actually do what you say. Whereas, doing Qigong with, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds sometimes is a little harder, more challenging because there's a little bit more inertia. First, kindergarten through third grade, they just eat it up. So what I like to do, animal movements for that age group. The tiger is really good. And the tiger can be also good because we can set intention. We can say, hey, exhale with that breath down to the earth, let go of your worries and stress. If they engage with any exercise with the right intention, the trauma starts to dissipate and leave. Now for trauma, you're going to want to do knocking on the chest, tapping, shaking is one of the best exercises. The tiger, like I said, is very, very good. And then if you could get them to do slow movements, just a little bit, pulling down the heavens, open the flow. The way I do this is I often gamify it. I say, who can move the slowest? I want to see how slow you can move. And they all get real slow. Or if we're doing animals, I call it the sloth. Moving like the sloth or a giant panda, they move super slow. And we start doing exercises slowly and they get into it if we gamify it and give them some visuals around it. So that's how I usually work with children, make it fun, use their imaginations, get them in visualizing things in nature.
Absolutely. Very good. I love that stuff also. I like doing it myself. Elizabeth is also asking about statins indirectly. She has a very high calcium score. Not on meditation or medication, sensitive to start, doesn't have a cholesterol problem, but just the calcium. And a family history of heart attacks. Yeah. What do you think about the statins in that case?
That might be outside of my expertise.
I was going to say it probably is, but what would we do alongside that?
Alongside that, here's what we would do. We're going to look at the kidneys because kidneys have to do with the endocrine system and the bones. And so, you know, with the calcium, sometimes it's an endocrine issue, some of the glands, the bones, the way that that it's being processed, what the body's reading as that feedback mechanism. So I really work on the kidneys as the energy system. So again, healing sounds, kidneys, flows and standing postures. There's a great standing posture where you hold the hands behind you. You're not touching your kidneys. They're kind of like this, far away. If I was doing it at the back, it would be like this, back here. And then you're visualizing bright blue light in your kidneys and you're breathing into your kidneys. And that's going to tonify that whole system. I might suggest doing the 5-element flow and putting a little extra energy on the kidneys. But really what you want is your whole body in balance. So that's why I'm suggesting 5-element energy flow to get the kidneys and then to get all the other elements supporting the kidneys and your whole system in balance.
Excellent suggestion. Very good. And they just keep coming. So what should you do for, this is Linda asking, what should you do for blepharitis? The words are going to get longer, by the way. So this one is blepharitis.
Blepharitis. Dang it. I don't know if I know blepharitis.
Eyelids.
Eyelids?
Yeah, she's saying, are eyelids connected to the lungs or the earth?
Eyelids. Okay.
It's a inflammation of the eyelids.
Well, okay, so the area is liver, but skin is lungs. And so you're going to want to do both of those, the lungs and the liver. And inflammation. So we want to, I would say healing sounds, especially lungs and liver, because we want the inflammation to go down. We want to clear heat. It's on the upper body. We want to bring heat out. And that's what healing sounds do. Also, anything pulling down, moving energy downward. Liver 3 as a pressure point, and just making sure stress levels are low, because when stress levels get high, energy rises and creates inflammation somewhere in the upper body.
Makes sense. Speaking of high stress levels, Laura got into a literal hornet's nest yesterday.
Oh,
Yellow anyway. Aside from the crazy itching and tenderness in the 8 to 10 stings, is there anything else going on in the body that Qigong might help to work out?
a literal hornet's nest, huh?
Yeah.
It sounds like my twins were out and they were doing a rope swing with their friends, and they found themselves in a literal hornet's nest. And they also love the word literal.
Yeah.
They say literally, they go like, I literally blah, 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 blah. I literally, da, da, da. So I hear the word literally a lot as an emphatic.
It actually means literally, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very emphatic. Oh, you did it literally? But most often it's pretty figuratively.
Yeah.
So I get a kick out of it. Okay, hornet's nest. Now you're going to get inflammation in the skin. And so we're going to want to have the inflammation go down. I would suggest herbs. Spleen 10, the name of that point is Bug's Nest. So it is a point. Back in the olden days, I think they got into a lot more hornet's nests or bugs or stinging ants. It's on the top of the knee, spleen 10. It's on the inside of the knee. Let me see if I can back it up. There's my knee. So there's my kneecap. This is spleen 10. So you can massage this whole area. You can knock on it. That's a good point. We would use that in acupuncture for skin issues. And triple warmer sound. We're going to go down. He. I would do that a lot, and then take some herbs. I would take some herbs that will help with the itchiness, like nettle. The nettle is good for histamine responses.
Excellent. And yeah, for those who couldn't hear, because Zoom is very good about trying to remove background noise, he was saying he, H-E-E, but in a whisper. So I won't try to repeat it because it just won't work. Actually, hold on. I got a button I can, it's, see, it worked.
Oh, that's a Zoom pressure point, huh?
Yeah, the Zoom pressure point, the original sound button. Yeah, good stuff. So good luck, Laura. She says, thank you, Ben and Lee. Good luck, Laura. God, that sounds like it's pretty unpleasant. Elizabeth, I don't have high blood pressure. Yes, I know, but you were asking about statins. So we had a separate conversation after the high blood pressure, trying to address the calcium thing. But again, a little bit out of Lee's area of expertise. But when you watch the replay back, Elizabeth, you'll find the recommendations for the bones topic that we made during that segment.
Yeah, kidneys control the endocrine system and the bones, and that whole loop was what you want to, create harmony and balance with.
Yep. Well, this will be a fun one. So Chantel has written in via support to say that her mom has been diagnosed with pleuroparenchymal fibroelastosis.
Aha. That's it?
Pleuroparenchymal fibroelastosis is a very rare terminal lung disease.
Lung disease, yeah.
Wondering if
I
Qigong,
recognize that one.
yeah. Wondering if Qigong would be okay for her to do, and if so, what would you recommend?
I definitely would recommend some version of Qigong. I would say not every single exercise, but I'm going to want to target the lungs. I would do pressure points, massage the whole chest area, the near the sternum, around these areas, because when the lungs get fibrotic, it makes it hard to breathe. And then if it's hard to breathe, the tissues can atrophy and you can't take in as much oxygen. So keeping the rib cage nice and open, doing pressure points, doing healing sounds for the lungs would be great, especially the Z sound. Arms up, zzz. I would do that quite frequently, tapping on the chest. And I would even get her Qigong for better breathing, just that program that she can do, and a lot of nice, slow breathing exercises and flows.
Excellent. Hope that is helpful, Chantal. And here's one from Lee. He says, hi, Lee. But Lee isn't talking to himself. He's talking to you, Lee.
I figured as much, but that's good. I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, I do what I can. Lee says, hi, Lee. Actually, Lee says, hey, Lee, just to be precise. I love it when you say, notice the energy or feel the energy during practice, because whenever you say it, I'm always feeling a tingling or other sensation at that moment in some part of my body. Well, now I'm starting to notice it at other times during the day, and I've started to wonder, what do I do when I notice it? Should I try to harness it in some way or just sit back and enjoy it?
Basically, you sit back and enjoy it, because your sensitivity to energy is waking up. It doesn't mean that you didn't have energy before.
Right.
But now you just notice it. Now it's like, oh, there's my energy. It's probably stronger too from your practice. So be observant, enjoy it. Often when energy is stronger, we feel better. If you wanted to harness it, you could just take a moment to take a few slow, deep breaths. If you have the space or the time, wherewithal to do a few movements, that's a good time to do a few movements.
Yep. Excellent.
Absolutely.
All right. We're on a roll here. So Heather is asking about a tendon injury and which organ flows would help. Are they kidney or liver, she's asking?
Well, tendon injury is liver. Liver, the wood element rules the tendons, the ligaments, and the sinews. So yeah, work on the liver. If the tendons are hurt, work on the liver. Gallbladder 34 is the master point of the tendons. It is on the outside. It's very good for the knees, but it's on the outside of the knee. It's right here at the head of the fibula. What bone is that again?
God, I hope you're right, because I don't know.
I think I might be right.
I think you probably are. All right. Well, here's a fun question from also Lee, actually, while we're on the Lee topic, is Leah says, I'm not sure what the COVID situation is like in your neck of the woods, but do you think you'll be going back to in-person classes and retreats anytime soon?
I think we're planning that for 2022. We got, busy with all this online stuff that we're doing. This Lee had a new infant, so that's a pretty live class full time. And now that she's a good 9 months, things are settling in. So I think 2022 we're going to have some good in-person events, and I'm missing it. So I know a lot of people are. I think we're gonna revamp it a little bit, and I'm excited for you guys to come out to Santa Cruz, or for me to come out in some other place and create some really powerful events.
Yep. Yeah, I think what probably will happen is we will continue to do this Zoom form for the kind of day-to-day classes and the smaller workshops, and then do retreats because those are really where you get to have a different experience. You can go a lot deeper by just kind of coming and focusing for a few days, and it's just delightful. So we will continue to have the Zoom classes. We'll continue to be doing the subscription, the workshops, and so forth this way, and then also creating in-person opportunities to come and go deep when we can and where we can. So, but yes, next year sometime. And we thought about maybe doing it in the fall, but I'm kind of glad we didn't, because it's going to be a big project of organizing it. I'd hate to have to not do it. All right. Got about 15 minutes left, and I know we have a few people who are going to come and ask questions in person. And so since we are in the realm of being able to do that, I think we'll go ahead and do that now. So I just lowered all the hands. Anybody who wishes to come on up and ask Lee a question. There's a raise hand button here in Zoom that you can use to raise your hand. And I know some of you had your hands up previously. You'd like to come up in person and ask on Zoom. Now you're gonna be on the recording. We're gonna publish this on our YouTube channel. You're gonna be publicly visible for posterity here, your question and Lee's answer. So by raising your hand, you're giving us permission to use your likeness and blah, 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 all the legalese that allows us to publish this video of you. And a couple of folks who had their hands raised before include Sharon, and Sharon is coming on in momentarily here. Ba-da-bing. It's like a video game. Mm-hmm. getting all the buttons pressed right. There we go. Here she comes.
Hi.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, excellent.
Good. I vaguely remember a comment when Lisa was doing her last class that you might have something coming up with traditional Chinese medicine or something. Are you guys developing a program?
There's talks about it. We've been talking about something of the sort, a little deeper dive into Chinese medicine. Yeah, it's one of many that is on our list for 2022. Okay. But yeah, that was
2023 or maybe 2024. You'll know.
Okay, I thought it sounded like it was something in the works coming up, so I was just interested. Sounds like a good idea.
Does it? Okay, we got one vote there, Ben.
One vote.
Yeah.
Sharon's leaning into it, so I like it.
Hold on a sec. Okay.
Put it on the list.
Yeah. And when you're planning your in-person trips, don't forget down under here in Australia and New Zealand.
Hey, one of my best friends just moved to Australia, so it gives me a good reason to move down there. I mean, to come down there and do a workshop. Can't move, can I?
Well, you could. Actually, there's waves down there. I'd go down there with you.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Awesome.
Come on, yeah.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Thanks, Sharon.
Well, thanks, Sharon. Yes, it is always possible that we are developing a program for whatever topic. And it's also possible that we'll never get around to actually releasing it or getting it done because there's so many things. I mean, that's the thing about Qigong. It's an entire system of medicine and health and wellness. And there's all these aspects, the mind, the body, the spirit, It's vast and deep and broad. And so there's too much things to do, as we
We're just
say.
going to have to do this for years to come, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
We have Daryl coming back in here momentarily. We think. Perfect. Button has been pressed. And Daryl, you got 2 more buttons to press and we're good to go. Here's one.
And there's 2.
Ta-da!
Hey,
Wow.
Well done.
That was a process. Hey, Lee. Hey,
hi,
Ben.
Daryl.
Hi. 2 things. I was the one who asked about the liver detox.
Okay.
And I know I said not specifically herbs, but I want to just tell you why I said that. So I have an issue where I got bit by something 7 years ago and it attached itself. So what I'm hearing from a healer that I kind of resonated with, it attached itself to my liver and it's been kind of wreaking havoc for 7 years. So she's been kind of on a healing, energetic way, detoxing my liver. And I was just thinking in between sessions with her, what I could do to detox. So when I was looking up herbs, I ended up kind of going on YouTube and there was this one guy that said the herbs are really just nutrition. They're really not going to detox your liver. You need to do a whole, like detox, like coffee enemas or the flush, the salt drinking and like more nutritional stuff that the herbs are really just nutrients for the liver. So on that level of me detoxing my liver, if I want to help this along to kill this thing that's kind of attached itself to me, what would any
Well, I mean, if
insight
you are
there?
interested in a full liver detox, there are protocols. It's like, I'm not, there's some books on liver detox, and it's some combination of, and I don't know it right, but it's like apple cider vinegar and apple juice first thing in the morning. So you could follow one of those protocols. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's like a fast and a cleanse, but they're viable and it might be a good choice for you. But with herbs, herbs are energetic. So in Chinese medicine, we say, what herbs go to the liver? Like what movement goes to my liver? So the energy of the herb will support the liver to do its own job. So it's energy. It is, it stimulates the liver to do its own thing. And so in Chinese medicine, we're going to look at the herbs as energy medicine, not nutritional medicine. And that's what's kind of separates Western thinkers and maybe Chinese medicine or Eastern thinkers. So your liver already knows how to detox itself. We want to help it along. There's some invading pathogen that we want to push out. And so healing sounds, I would say for your own practice would be good. That would be vocalize sound, shoo, but vocalize it, shoo, and stretch into it and do some movements like, Immortal pushes the stone, all those kinds of things. Massage the liver points. And then if you feel like it, if that's what's calling you, look up liver detox. It's a very specific protocol. And that might be something good to do with it.
Yeah, I wrote down the shoe and the lateral stretch with the shoe and the points. I wrote all that down before. So, okay, this was good for just that. And when you do the heart to sky breathing, when you come back down to heart, you're exhaling through your nose to keep the energy in, right? You're not, this is not a releasing.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Do it a lot. So I just kind of wanted to make sure I was doing that well.
Great. For liver too, the swimming dragon set would be really good because it's going to massage and squeeze the liver. So you might want to do swimming dragon movements. And there's even the swimming dragon workshop that we just did.
That's right. You did. Okay. I'll check that out. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Daryl.
Bye. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. All right. We got Ron Miller. The old switcheroo going on here. One thing about the webinar format, it's a little slower to get Ron Miller up here on camera, but here comes Ron Miller. Hey, Ron.
Hey.
Hey, Ron.
Hi. I'm just I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the germ theory. I've done all this research and I don't know what to think about the like vaccines and whether to take a vaccine or not, and I have little kids here that are. Am I supposed to? What do you think vaccines work? Is it a good idea to do this?
I know, right? It's so confusing.
It is.
Yeah.
And do you think the germ theory is correct?
I think we can
Or are we
tackle
on the wrong track
I think
there?
we can tackle the germ theory, but I don't think we can make any recommendations about whether you should or shouldn't take vaccines.
Yeah, no worries. You don't have to make a recommendation. I'm just wondering what
The germ theory, like having kids play on the ground and get dirty and all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of what you mean?
or just like is there a virus or a bacteria that is going to enter my body and cause some sort of illness, or
Oh,
no?
yeah,
Or is
let
that
me
not
just
how
say-
that works?
Let me just say that your body has tremendous healing capacity. So when we're strong and our immune system's functioning right, your body already naturally recognizes a pathogen and my body. That's what we want to delineate, right? What we can do is we can strengthen our system. Healthy eating, healthy living, low stress, breathing exercises, Qigong practice. Now, I mean, I have a bunch of kids and they are constantly putting stuff in their mouth that's dirty. Babies, the funniest thing, they always grab something and they just like immediately put it in their mouth. I'm like, this must be a way in which our bodies are designed to start to introduce, germs and strengthen our immune system, because whether it's dirt, this or that, they just want to put things in their mouth. It's kind of one way they get to know the world as well. But, from what I've seen, it's good for kids to play in the dirt, good for kids to play at the beach, good for kids to be out in nature, and getting that dirty kind of energy into their skin and systems is good. Chemicals and other things, that would be something I would shy away from, but just nature and dirt, I think is great for that to be introduced to and to strengthen immune systems. Let's get our kids back to nature, get them wild again. And, that can be extremely healthy. And there's really good research to back that up.
Thanks, Lee.
Hey, yeah, you're welcome. Stay strong.
Yeah, best of luck out there, Ron. And that is the last question we have time for today. It's about time to close out here. We got about 3 or 4 minutes left. And Lee, I was hoping that you could take us on a little bit of a send off and get us in the right frame of mind to.
All right. Well, those are a great set of questions. Thanks everybody for joining and just having a conversation, having sometimes a different kind of conversation, and starting off with some intention setting, some gratitude practice. And now why don't we, instead of holding our teacups to our heart center, let's take our hands, bring them in kind of prayer position by the heart. And I want you to just let your fingers come apart. It's almost like a teacup, but it's now a Qi cup. And I want you to just take a few breaths, like you're smelling the fragrance of this beautiful flower in your heart. A couple of nice, slow, deep breaths, giving some appreciation for our conversation of us all getting together and just the support that we might all have with a like-minded community that we are all participating in. And let that flower in your heart just open and breathe deep. And let's continue our day into our evenings or our mornings, wherever you might be, with a smile in our heart, filled with gratitude and blessings as we shine our light out into the world. And for me, thank you so much all for participating. It was so great to see some of your faces, get your questions, and all get together. Until the next time we get to talk or do Qigong, many blessings for now.
Excellent. Thank you, Lee. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And just so you know, if you want to watch again or you missed part of it, it'll be up on YouTube on our channel, Holden Qigong channel, sometime tomorrow. So feel free to watch the replay. And if we don't see you in class soon, we'll see you in class eventually. Have a great time. Bye, all.
Well.